Get ready for the next battle.
If you have been watching my channel for quite some time, you may notice I'm a bit of a Tekken fan. Shocking, I know. However, it hasn't always been this way. I've only recently gotten into the series, starting in Tekken 7. I bought the game on Steam in July of 2021 for $7 whole. Yeah, that was a steal. Before this, my history of fighting games primarily included the Smash Bros. Series, playing Melee, Project M, Smash 4, and Ultimate on a semi-competitive level. I rarely ever played traditional fighting games, so when Kazuya was announced for Ultimate in June of 2021, I wanted to pick up another fighting game other than Smash, and Tekken struck me as something very much in line to what I enjoyed about Melee: the movement, the freeform combos, and the community. It aligns so much with what I enjoyed about competitive Smash. Smash has done wonders for me. It single-handedly got me into Street Fighter, Persona, Tekken, and even Metal Gear Solid, so I appreciate this series more than I can possibly know. But speaking on Tekken and Nintendo, when did these icons first intersect before Smash? Well, it's kind of a troubled and quite interesting history. Speaking on the mainline series, which actually involved fighting an opponent, there are 3 core installments across 3 different consoles. Tekken was historically a PlayStation exclusive, only finally becoming cross-platform with Tekken 6 Bloodline Rebellion, which launched on both the PS3 and Xbox 360. And trust me, putting a highly intricate fighting game on the Xbox led to so many Xbox live chats, it's honestly hilarious. But I digress. Let's see which one of these 3 we will talk about first. Okay, let's just get this one out of the way real quick. Tekken Tag Tournament 2, Wii U Edition. Can you guess what platform this was for? If you said the V-Smile, I have some bad news. So yeah, this is just a direct port of Tag 2 from the Wii U, which is like a match made in hell. You have the worst selling Tekken game on the worst selling modern Nintendo console. That's like mixing bleach and ammonia, which kinda explains the sales, which is just under 36,000. But in its own defense, it did outsell the Xbox 360 version. I know that it's very easy to punch down on Tag 2, even if people try to defend the game, especially right now. But the Wii U edition did have some cool stuff added. It added a ton of new costumes based off several Nintendo IPs, such as Mario, Luigi, Peach, Bowser, Toad, Link, Zelda, Sheik, Ganondorf, Zero Suit Samus, Fox McCloud, and Captain Falcon, which are really cool to see. If Tekken 8 ever comes to the Switch 2, I hope they do something like this again. They also included another unique customization option, the ability to paint on characters, which is honestly kinda crazy. This was probably added to give the Wii U gamepad something to do, but it's a really cool option that will probably never return, which is quite sad. But for me, I'm kinda content with Tekken 8's options right now. The Wii U edition also brought in 3 modes, 2 new modes, and one that hadn't returned since Tekken 3. Let's talk about this one first. Mushroom Battle is Tekken, except you can change size depending on what kind of mushroom you get. There are 4 in total, being the Super, Poison, Mega, and Golden, which all have unique attributes, either by increasing or decreasing your size, or in the case of the Golden Mushroom, increasing your speed. There is also the Superstar, which gives you invincibility and chip damage, which is basically the heat mode on crack. You can also reflect the mushrooms by attacking them, which makes the Poison Mushroom super strong. In all honesty, this is a really fun mode, but you can probably guess why it will never return, unless it gets a Tekken makeover. The next new mode is called Tekken Supporters, which is basically the popularity leaderboard, but also allows you to unlock custom outfits for each character. This mode is honestly nothing special, but it's a nice touch, but I don't see why it's a Wii U exclusive. Maybe it's because you can unlock swimsuits, which makes all the Nintengooners squeal with joy. It also includes bonus dialogue when you spend enough money, either from Violet or a secretary, which is always a nice touch. The last mode is a returning mode, being Tekken Ball, which was last seen in Tekken 3, which was replaced by Tekken Bowl in Tag 1, but finally returned for everyone in Tekken 8's Lounge area. Yeah, I want a main menu online option, please. But anyway, it's just Tekken Ball. Nothing else really to say or add here. Although, it is played on 3 different stages, being the Sakura Schoolyard, the Arena, or Eternal Paradise. As I said before, there's nothing else I can really say about this one, besides the addition of the tag feature, which is quite neat. Overall, the Wii U edition of Tag 2 is probably the best version of the game. It's basically just Tag 2 with extra features. So if you want to get into Tag 2 this late into the game, just buy it on the Xbox store. All the Wii U servers are basically dead, and it's the only legal way to download the game. While the Wii U version adds some really cool stuff, it's just obsolete. If you want to learn more about Tag 2 on the Wii U, I'll link a video in the top right by Kanhage. It's a solid video that's solely about the Wii U port. But we still have 2 more games to cover, so let's talk about the more interesting one. Released after Tekken Tag Tournament 1, Tekken Advance is a demake of Tekken 3 and Tekken Tag Tournament, even featuring the logo and font of Tekken Tag, featuring heavily reduced graphics and input options. Since the GBA, I'll say that instead of its full government name from now on, only has 2 face buttons, lots of moves were reduced from either a punch or kick input, which heavily decreased the amount of moves each character could perform. You may ask, what about the shoulder buttons? Well, we'll get to that in a minute. The game still features 3D movement, which is honestly really cool to see on limited hardware, which already puts the game over Tekken 1 in my opinion, but that's not really saying much. The sidestep mechanic gives the illusion of the game having 3D graphics, so it's basically just modern Tekken at its most bare bones. But that doesn't mean it's a bad game, actually quite far from it. It features most of the Tekken 3 roster, except for Eddie, Lei, both of the Ogres, Brian, Anna, Kuma, Julia, Dr. B, Gon, and Mokujin. Heihachi is a returning character, but requires to be unlocked by beating the arcade mode with every single character, which I did. It's honestly a pretty solid roster, albeit quite small, but I won't complain about having both Jin and Heihachi. But in all honesty, thank God Eddie is not in this game. Could you imagine playing against your buddy on the school bus and he is just mashing like crazy? You'd smack that shit right out of his hand. You're gonna learn! Tekken Advance also has a good selection of modes, some requiring the GBA link cable for local multiplayer. I think if the GBA had a local play like the DS, this would have been a great way to play Tekken on the go with your friends. Until DR on the PSP at least, but that's a long ways away. Remember how I would clarify about the shoulder buttons? Well, the R button is the grab input, which plays a very short animation. King and Nina also have their command throws, but when they do this, the opponent goes to a solid black silhouette. This was done to remove the animations for each character, most likely to save on data space. The L button is the tag button. Yeah, this game has a tag mode, which is super sick to see. However, instead of 2-on-2, it's 3-on-3. This makes this already limited game even better in my opinion. Since the roster has such a limited move list, this basically gives you triple the amount of moves you can use in a match. A super cool inclusion to say the least. The music is interesting, I would say. It's nothing too complex. It definitely keeps the energy of Tekken 3 and Tekken Tag, but since the GBA speakers are so shit, the sound produced is less than desirable. While we also get some returning tracks from Tekken 3, being Law, Yoshimitsu, and Ogre's arcade themes. Except Ogre's theme is now labeled under Heihachi. I mean, he's the final boss, so it makes sense. We also get the character select theme from the console release, so they kind of mixed and matched some stuff around. All the other tracks in the game are unique, with some characters even sharing some tracks. All the main stages they use in the game don't belong to certain characters. For example, Xiaoyu and King is fought on Eddie's stage, Paul is fought in Jin's stage, and Heihachi is fought in Ogre's temple, which makes sense. I mean, his Tekken 3 stage leads directly towards it. Overall, Tekken Advance is definitely outdated, but in the early 2000s, this was honestly a super cool way to play the game on the go. It's the whole conversation of the performance and sacrifice of portability. Hopefully at some point, Nintendo will add this game to the Nintendo Online service. Or just port Tekken 8. The last game is definitely not as interesting as the GBA demake, nor is it as simple as the Wii U port, but it's definitely the most odd of the 3, I would say. Tekken 3D Prime was released for Nintendo 3DS in 2012, being marketed as a 2-in-1 deal for both the Tekken 3D Prime game as well as the full-length animated movie, Tekken Blood Vengeance, both being in full 3D. The marketing for this game was honestly kind of funny. There's a trailer featuring both Katsuhiro Harada, the director of Tekken, and Street Fighter's producer, Yoshinori Ono. Seeing these two on the screen is always such a treat. Now maybe if we get the Tekken X Street Fighter game some—
Get out! Get out! Get out! Get out here!
For reference, Super Street Fighter 4 was already ported to the 3DS at its launch, so Tekken 3D Prime came out a year later. So about a year later, you had both of the major fighting games on Nintendo's portable console. So this made the 3DS a great way to play these games on the go. Something to note is that Tekken 3D Prime released before Tekken Tag 2 on the major consoles. I've mentioned this as Heihachi has his Tag 2 render in place of his Tekken 6 one, most likely done because Heihachi's older voice actor, Daisuke Gori, had passed away. Although, Both his voice and Heihachi Tekken Tag 2 and Tekken 7 voice actor Unsho Ishizuka have lines in the game. But what exactly is Tekken 3D Prime? It's just Tekken 6 again. Yeah, it's not the Tag 2 engine. All the characters that are present in the game use your Tekken 6 BR renders and attacks, which is honestly unfortunate. It would have been super cool to have Tekken Tag 2 in some portable fashion. So now we have two portable versions of Tekken 6, except for one is just Tekken 6 on the PSP, the other is just an odd update of the Tekken 6 PSP version. The 3D Prime version of the game doesn't really add too much. It primarily adds features that coincide with the 3DS ecosystem, like the play coins, which are used to get Tekken cards, which are exactly how they sound. Cards of just Tekken stuff. Players can also get Tekken cards by playing the special survival mode, which is a non-stop barrage of opponents. These small additions are quite nice, but they really don't add too much to what the base game had already offered, which is something that is mentioned multiple times in the reviews for the game, in which many reviewers felt the game was incomplete. However, I will say that the 3DS version of the game does feel kind of slightly off. Like the audio just feels kind of weird. Lots of sound effects just don't come through, nor are they kind of present at all in the game. I will say it does feel a little too downscaled for what it could be. Something I forgot to mention with Tag 2 on the Wii U was the addition of touch controls, which the 3DS game introduced. On the bottom screen, you can see 4 panels, each corresponding with certain moves, which was likely done to give new players an easy access to certain moves that are quite difficult, like the Mishima Wind God Fist, which is something that Tekken 7 and 8 added onto with the addition of the special style. This was also done in the Super Street Fighter 4 3D version, so Bandai Namco saw this was an easy option that was viable through the 3DS version, which honestly gives the bottom screen a reason to exist. Overall, this is not a bad game, but doesn't offer anything truly unique in terms of what it adds, but it's still a solid Tekken game. If you wanted a fantastic Tekken experience on the go and did not own a PSP or GBA or DS for that matter, Tekken 3D Prime is a deal. Overall, Nintendo has a very rocky history with Tekken, only truly getting one mainline entry, being Tag 2. The other two are just alterations of existing material, one being a demake, which is honestly really cool to see, and the other being a sort of update, but neither truly being a mainline title. But that does not make them bad games. For what they are, these are excellent games at the time of their release. They were awesome ways to play Tekken on the go, and with the Switch 2 coming out sometime in the near future, we could possibly get Tekken 8 and maybe some older games if we're lucky. But let's not get our hopes up too much.